Hello and welcome to Illumination Podcast with Nick and KISMA. I'm KISMA, and today's episode is Redefining Normal. Hello and welcome to Illumination Podcast with Nick and KISMA, bringing you ancient wisdom for modern day success so that you can have the mindset to get your life and business set.
As always, thank you for tuning in. And if you're new to the podcast, take a quick second to hit the subscribe button in iTunes, SoundCloud, or Stitcher. If you want to get the inside info for this and every episode, as well as some free gifts, go to illuminationacademy.net/podcasts. And now let's dive in to get your mindset for your life and business set.
Well, hello there, Nick.
Hello there, KISMA.
What's going on over there? Right across in your chair, away from my chair, your mic, away from my mic.
That was a very professional audio introduction that you just gave us. It was awesome. Yeah, it was. It was very good.
Because the first one, I was cracking up. I did.
No, you really dropped in for that one. It was good.
I did.
It takes me a couple takes sometimes. Yeah, I don't know why. It's so simple.
I got it.
Now, what's going on? Well, life is going on. Things are going on.
Good things. Really good things.
All sorts of good things. Yeah. Yeah. It's continues to be a very unique time.
You were a guest for my group, the Abundance Makeover, this morning.
That was super fun.
Yeah, we did the Energy Abundance Intensive, and you gave some really great tips. I think one that I just want to share before we get into the topic today was be conscious of your energy.
Yeah.
I mean, it was so good, because we're always like, watch where you step, like watch what comes out of your mouth, brush your teeth, be conscious if you have bad breath, or be conscious of your energy.
Yeah.
Like it's such a basic yet profound idea. It's really great.
It really is. But it's not always so simple for people because they haven't been taught how to understand or how to interact with their energy. Like it's an unseen thing. So it can be kind of like, well, how do I do that? And that's what we talked about today is a couple different things. But mainly I thought one of the things that I enjoyed talking about most was because I've taught many of those people in different ways, through our programs and things like that, but was to really, really engage on a different level about their sensibilities about it. Right down a little bit more into a refined and more subtle level. And that was really cool to see their insights and to hear their words and them talk about the energy that they experience. Yeah. So that was pretty cool.
Yeah. So today we're talking about redefining normal.
Yeah.
And this really was inspired, I think, a conversation we were having. I was mentioning how going out into the world now that things are opening up. I mean, they've been opening up for a while, but I think we've started venturing out more than usual.
I'd say that's fair, yeah.
And I mean, I even took a trip, right? I flew across the country and it was fine, but it's a little bit sensitive. And so my go-to is like, well, I can just be inside the house and be a hermit and work from there and teach from there and coach from here, like everything. Yet at some point we have to look, is that the best option? Is that the best normal? Am I stretching myself? Right. And so I'm sure what I'm saying, many people can resonate with that idea of like, well, let's just stay home and feel all cuddly and cozy and safe and never go out again.
Yeah. I mean, look, for people like me, this was like...
Well, we were talking about me, just FYI.
No, I understand that. But I think I even more so have that tendency of like being the homebody.
Yeah, you do.
Yeah. So...
You're more hermity than I am.
I am more
But
hermity.
I've grown into being quite the hermit over COVID.
Yeah, I think there's that part of your nature too that's just like, yeah, we're good. Like, we got everything that we need right here.
And we do. I'm so grateful. But then what does that mean for... if we just look at, three pieces, your mindset, your physical body, and the energy body. If we're not actually out in the world, mindset and, emotional body, but if we're not out in the world interacting and being with other humans, what happens to those three bodies? You look at the mental, emotional, and the physical and the energy bodies.
Yeah. I think people too at this time are looking to kind of extend their permission slip. Like people like us, they're like, well, I don't, I like wearing the masks because it helps them feel like kind of secluded behind it. People like that.
If I have stuff in my teeth, nobody knows.
Right. They feel kind of like it's like their little shield is up,
Yeah.
And having that permission slip to be more isolated and things like that. And I think they're, like you were saying, it's uncomfortable to come out, but it's almost like they're looking for that permission slip to stay. Like, let's let this be kind of normal. Like, let's kind of normalize this. Like they're trying to find that too, which is really understandable. And they're trying. I've seen it in as an article I was reading and then talking about with a colleague about it, and it was talking about how people are wanting. Like, this should be normal. This should be normal. And it's like, well, hiding away isn't normal.
Yeah.
Yeah. And even if it were, is it really, like you were saying, is it really for the best?
Right. Exactly. Because if we're hiding away, what are we hiding from?
That's right.
So what would happen to the mental, emotional, energy bodies, physical body, and just the energy field if one were to just like completely retreat?
Well, we've done that. And the results of that were pretty clear. The physical body is not difficult to maintain in that environment, so long as you're getting some fresh air and things like that. But you can do all your exercise, you can maintain your body, like you can do all that stuff. You can maintain a really great immune system in that way and really great health. But you have to make a concerted effort to do it. And what we saw over the past year is that certain people did that and certain people didn't.
Right.
For whatever, not making any of it right or wrong, but people went through their own thing around it. And some people got super fired up. We decluttered the whole house. I learned how to cook a lot better, like all sorts of things. And other people drank a lot. And just really kind of closed up in their holes in TV, again, for all different reasons. And we're not making any of it wrong. But that has obviously the physical effect and that inertia sets in. And
the inertia, right.
It's like you stop working out or you stop exercising, it's like it's hard to get going again.
Well, I want to go just a little bit deeper than that, because if we look at the energy body and kind of hiding up, holding up, having this new sort of hermit life, what's happening to the energy body?
Well, yeah, that's the next part.
Because that will affect the physical body.
Oh, yeah. And the physical activity helps to keep the energy body more clean and resilient, definitely. But one thing that it doesn't do is we're not out and about. So that resilience, the energetic resilience is hugely diminished. Yeah. So then we're out and about, right? And being around people, and people are being people. And it's like, whoa, like this is, it's a different experience even than it was before, because lots of people are now a little bit more sensitive to that. Like the world is getting louder. Yeah. Again. Right. And it was really, it's not even as loud as it was, I don't think. No. But it's a lot louder than it has been. And that what we've been used to over the past year plus. And so as it gets louder and louder, it's kind of like I don't know, I feel like it's a little bit of an assault on the senses at times. Yeah. And if the energy body doesn't have the resiliency or just like that firmness, when it's clear and it's clean, but it's also exercised by being out in the world. You're just kind of walking through everybody's solar plexus and when everybody else is purging out. Oh yeah. It's a little much. It can feel a little much. Yeah. So we're sharing this because again, if you're going, if you're out and about and you're feeling different than before, know that I think a cool way to describe it is like you just haven't had the muscle. It's sort of like going for a run and you haven't been running for 10 months. And so you feel it, and your energy body, even though it isn't a real muscle, but it's being built up. It's given strength and resiliency, like you said. Yeah. If it doesn't have that, you go out, you're like, whoa, what just happened? Yeah. Yeah. And then you think about like emotionally and mentally. So when people are in their own environment, they express their emotions differently than they would out in the world.
Oh, for sure.
It's just kind of like,
purge.
Yeah, like whatever,
Vomit.
The kids come home from college.
Yeah.
And, whatever they've been bottling up there is just like, blah, everywhere around.
Yeah.
And it's sort of an emotion. And that kind of, which is, in a certain respect is kind of nice. It's like there's not so much pretense or anything like that. But in another sense, it's like, maybe a little bit of that emotional hygiene and decorum is not such a bad thing.
Right.
Because it's just like spewing that all over other people,
right.
And that happened. It doesn't matter that a lot of that happened through Zoom. It's that people are in their environment and they let that out in a different way.
Or through text or through Messenger.
Right. Yeah. And it gets translated through.
Yeah.
And now that's become more of a habit.
Or if anybody was in a home where there was no one else to express emotions to, or the family didn't want emotions, so things become suppressed.
Yeah. Yep, totally.
Mm-hmm.
So those sorts of things become habitual, and now as we're going out more in the world, it's like
suppressed emotions are coming up, or just a lack of intellect that guides the emotions to be expressed in a healthy way has deteriorated.
That's right.
There's a lack of intellect. So
emotional hygiene is super important. And then throw on top of that, the lingering anxiety.
Right.
And confusion around the virus and the vaccines and all this stuff.
I was talking with a client today about how I think one of the things that potentially, and I'd love to hear from any of our listeners if you feel this resonates, that eroded was just trust. So not sure who to trust in terms, okay, we had the election, in the middle of this pandemic. There's so many different opinions at the beginning, what was happening, what wasn't, should you wear a mask, shouldn't you, where's the toilet paper, like not knowing who to trust. And that erodes a self-trust. And so now it's like entering back into the world and the trust isn't really there. And I think ultimately, because I want to give our listeners some tips on how to reboot the whole system so you can have your normal and it's healthy for you. I think self-trust is a really good place to start. Because if you're not trusting yourself, you won't really know what your true normal is, what a healthy normal is.
That's right.
Right. So, maybe it's spending 5 to 15 minutes every day, just kind of anchoring into your core values, your beliefs, whether it's affirmations, whether it's one of Nick's meditations or my meditations, but to really get centered. For us, it's like, or at least for me, I'd be like, connect to source, connect to God, connect to universe, remember who you are as this spiritual being and really bring in that so that you can trust yourself as a human being again. Then you can start to trust the world outside, or at least trust that you can navigate it.
Yeah, that to me, the second part is the most important to that, is like, no matter what's coming your way, you can trust yourself to step in.
Right.
Right. Because, the world is so unpredictable and people are really unpredictable. And I don't know that, in my mind, and maybe I'm a little cynical about this, which is possible, I don't feel there's a lot of value in placing trust in the world in that way. And people, I just feel like it's kind of like it's just too unpredictable. But the real confidence comes from self-trust. Is knowing,
self-trust.
Hey, it's cool. Like you do you and you be you. Right. And whatever happens, I know that I can meet that with my best.
Right.
That to me is like a real sense of confidence. Yeah. And then of course there's the natural laws and the world and trusting in that. Like that's it's a much higher level of trust.
And so when you develop that, it'll be easier to know, well, what is my life now? What am I going to choose? Because we actually do have this sort of canvas that we can paint our new normal in ways that we never had before. I think it's one of the gifts of COVID. Many people are able to work from home more than they did before or choose to go back in. I know that not everybody has that choice, but I do think there's this canvas before us, and there's always a canvas, right? We can always move into shaping our reality. So I would encourage everyone is like really anchor into your heart, sync up with your head, get into your trust, whether it's through God, universe, source, energy, etc., and begin to make the decisions that are right for you. And sprinkle on, I feel like this is a really important piece, sprinkle on a bit of stretch. Don't be too comfortable. Allow yourself to be comfortable being uncomfortable. Just sprinkle a bit of stretch, because then it's like you were talking about, Nick, that resiliency is building.
Yeah. Yeah, that's good. That's good advice for me.
Yeah. Sprinkle some stretch.
A little bit of stretch. I'm definitely a creature of comfort.
Yeah, you are. You should see him with his like blankets and all that stuff, everyone. It's hilarious.
My cat.
Your cat, his blankets.
His new thing is like climbing up on my chest in the morning, and he just hangs out there with me. It's so cool, so comfortable.
Yeah.
But I think this conversation around normal itself is just really important, because a lot of the things that are normal, quote unquote normal, aren't necessarily healthy for us. And so when we're in a process of really defining normal for ourselves, it's really looking at, well, what's healthy and productive?
Right.
So I don't, even if you are a super introverted person, is it really healthy for you to stay holed up? Is it really healthy for you to be hiding out, and hiding behind when you're out and about, just sort of hiding, you're energetically hiding? Are those things healthy for you? Is it really going to help you get what you want and attain the goals and achieve the goals that you want in your life? Like, what are the things that are most important to you, whether it's a business thing or whatever, a relationship thing? Is that something that's really going to help you?
Right.
And is it going to help you live larger and be more of yourself?
Right.
Right. I think those are things that are really important, because a lot of things that are very normal, dysfunction in family is extremely normal. Right. But is that the kind of normal that we want?
Exactly.
And you see it from family to family. Like, remember when you were a kid and, you do dinner at your house the way that you do it, and then you go over to your friend's house and it's like radically different. My family's like, my family listens to this podcast, so I'll be mindful. But like in my house, we passed the dishes one way, right? So there was no traffic jams. Very orderly. It was extremely orderly. Like there were some order drivers going on in my house. And so you go around this way, and then if somebody starts going the wrong way, like, that person got called out. Like, hey, you're going the wrong way. Get in line here. And that's how we did it. But then I go to my friend's house. It's just like chaos, It's just mayhem. You just put the, dishes every which way, you're passing across each other. It's like, whoa, it was just a really different experience for me. Yeah. And that's like one normal versus another. In some houses, it's really normal for people to argue. Right. And that's not necessarily a bad thing, as long as you're arguing in a healthy way. Like that's
in a healthy way.
Yeah.
Right.
Like because
that's okay. Not arguing can be unhealthy as well.
That's exactly right. In certain houses, that's like, you never argue.
Yeah.
Like those are things that are accepted as normal, but are they really, really healthy?
Yeah.
So when I think about a new normal, I think about it kind of in terms of, well, what's really that conducive environment for myself that's going to help me thrive, help me be more of me, and help me do the things that I'm here to do.
Right.
That's kind of how I think about it. And let's make that normal.
That's right. Get to what you want to do while you're here, and create the normal, reverse engineer. I like it.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, everyone, we hope you enjoyed this episode.
I was just going to say, what's your new normal?
My new normal?
I don't know for you, but for the listeners, I mean, you can share.
I shall ponder and share next week.
All right. Okay.
My new normal. I'll share next week.
I can hardly wait.
Okay.
But for our listeners,
I know.
What's your new normal?
Yeah.
What do you want to be your new normal?
Exactly.
So I can't wait. I can't wait to hear.
All right, everyone. We will see you next week. Thanks for tuning in. It's Illumination Podcast with Nick and KISMA. Share, like, review, spin it, sing it, rap it. We're here for you. Namaste.
Peace.
Hey, thanks for jamming with us today. And if you enjoy Illumination Podcast, please go ahead and share it with someone you love. Give us a rating, review, download our podcast. And remember, you can find us at illuminationacademy.net/podcasts. Talk to you soon. Namaste.